Yeah, hi everybody, Ryan back with you here again. Today we're going to do a service on my TriPac here. Mine's a Thermo King. There's several other makes and models and all that out there. There's Carriers and a couple other ones. Mine's not the Evolution model. It's the model before the Evolution came out, but this model here is basically the same mechanically as the Evolution, other than the controller inside's a little bit different, and the shroud, the coverings on the unit here are a little bit different. And I think I had an Evolution, and really, I mean, you need some Torx bits or Torx drive or whatever to take those panels and stuff off of it, but they're pretty simple, basically the same process. Then even the filters and everything, I use the same filter kit. And I go through, there's an aftermarket place up in Portland, Oregon, I believe, that I deal with. It's Thermo Byproducts. They're online. You can Google them. And I basically get a whole set of filters. I get the secondary fuel filter on this one, an oil filter, an engine air filter, and the cabin air filter in there for I think it's $28 or something. But once we start putting it on, I'll show you all that stuff. I usually buy 2 kits at a time to save a little bit on shipping, because their shipping's a little bit, I think it's close to $20 for shipping, so that way if I buy 2 kits, it kind of spreads it across 2 kits. And then really all you need is 2 gallons of oil, a little bit of clean fuel to fill the filter, filter wrench, and on this particular casing you need a 7/16 wrench and socket, ratchet, and you got the big channel locks here in case I need those. There is a little inline filter in the back that's kind of your primary. I don't change that as often. It's kind of a problem with these. And I've actually got the settling globe type filter with the screen in it that they use on the newer one that I'm going to change this one out with here eventually. I'm not going to do it here today because we're kind of pushed for time. But we'll go ahead and get started here. I'm going to take these covers off. And then, like I said, you're going to need a drain pan obviously as well to drain the oil, and it doesn't hold too much. It's a little less than 2 gallons, I believe, on this. If you put 2 gallons in it, I know in this one it overfills it. But we'll go ahead and take these off. And the other thing is, when you do this, make sure you shut the panel off in there so it ain't trying to start or something while you've got everything taken apart. Or you can shut the switch off back here, but then that throws an engine fault up there, so I just shut the panel off up inside the truck. That's spinning for some reason. It's actually spinning the nut in its little keeper back there. So I have to grab a pair of channel locks. All right, these have little built-in nuts, and they got a little piece of real pot metal almost. That one was spinning when I was trying to take it out. And sometimes you can take a pair of channel locks and you can clamp down on it and hold it and get the rest of the way out. So I'd be careful using. Sometimes I use a little electric impact driver on these, but I'd be careful because you can spin those and strip them to where you'll have problems getting them off. Let's take the bottom off. I'm taking the wrong one out. And this is what I like about this model better than the Evolution. On the Evolution, there's bolts on the back that you take loose. For this one, this is just slotted. You take these two out, you kind of wiggle this around a little, and it just pulls right out. It's got a little tongue there that kind of slips it in the back. So it's pretty easy to take this one apart. And I gotta grab the 17mm. Take that out. All right, this particular model uses a 19mm wrench here or socket or whatever you have. It can be kind of tight, so I'll just put lock two wrenches together. Get that. While that's draining, we're going to take this filter off while that's draining. It's a little hard to get to in here. And the way this filter's positioned, this oil, it just goes everywhere. There's really no way around it when you pull it off. Actually, didn't leak as much as I thought it would. So here's what you're going to get in one of these kits if you buy, like I said, I buy two at a time. And here's the basically, so you get two complete kits. They're $28 a piece, $56, and their shipping's almost $21. So that's why I buy two at a time, two or three, because it's the same price for shipping regardless. So it kind of gets your unit cost down a little bit better. But you're going to get an air filter here. One of those. You got oil filter. And secondary fuel filter to spin on. Then you get a cabin air filter here too. I don't change these out. I kind of save those. I use a, I actually get a little furnace filter from Walmart. That's more like a one of the ones that's it's a better filter basically. It's like the same. It's just a smaller version of what you'd use like in your furnace or central air unit at your house. That's what I use. So throw this filter on. Then I know the ones that Thermo King sells, OEM, they claim you can get 1,000 hours out of them. That's why they're so expensive. I mean, I think just if you go through them, just the oil filter is like $40 or $50. I mean, off the top of my head, it may be a little bit different. So I mean, if you go through them to get all these filters, I know they are higher interval, but I don't think it really. I'd rather change the oil and stuff a little bit more often. And you know, and still, I could change my oil 3 or 4 times what it would cost me one time of doing it with their stuff. And I've heard, I mean, even taking this thing to the dealer to get serviced, I've heard, you know, $300 to $500 basically to do it. And for what you see here, and 2 gallons, you can get this mobile Delvac at Walmart sometimes for under $11. And that's what I use the same stuff in the truck. So basically, you're looking at about $50 in about 30 minutes of your time here. And if you got a drain pan like this, once you fill, you know, go ahead and use this oil, you can dump the oil right back in here and take it to your Advanced Auto Parts, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, all those places. They'll take used oil. Most of them would take 5 gallons per day, so you can see pretty easy to get rid of. But I'm going to put this back on. And I get a little bit of that oil that's dripping out and put it on that seal. And you want to be kind of spin that backwards a little bit, make sure it's, you just don't want cross-threaded on there. Then I just get it hand tight. You know, if you can get it hand tight, then try to get about a quarter turn or so on it. You don't want to put that wrench on there. You're gonna have to use. If you do, you're gonna end up using a big pair of channel locks or driving a screwdriver through it to get it back out if you over tighten it. All right, I'm gonna take that fuel filter. If you got a filter wrench, you can use that. But, I just use these. Enough to get it out. Need a little bit more. And you're going to lose some fuel when you take this out. All right, we got the new filter opened up here. We're gonna go ahead and use some clean fuel. This bottle doesn't look clean, but the inside's clean. So just fill that up. So that if you don't, you're gonna have a heck of a time getting this thing started again, because you know how these are, they don't have like a key where you can just crank it and crank it. It cycles itself. And put a little bit of fuel on the seal there. And the way this is positioned, you know, we're going to lose, like I said, we're going to lose a little bit when we put it in there, so try to do it quick. That's really all the tighter it needs to be. So we're going to put the oil pan plug back in. And before we put oil in it, we'll go ahead and throw that air filter in. This is I know on this particular model, this is kind of a bad design. It's really difficult to get this in here. It's just really, there's a brace back there and it's really tight up against it. This pushes in there and put this back in. Like I said, this can be kind of difficult to get in here because the way it's so tight in here for some reason. Alright, that's the air filter. And on this one, you got two places you can fill the oil. It really doesn't matter which one you use. I know this one, if you're going to top it off or something, when you have all the shrouds on, this one isn't accessible. So you have to use that one. But, I usually use the top one for filling it. I gotta grab a funnel, and I use some brake cleaner to clean all this off so we can see if there's any leaks. All right, I use brake cleaner here, brake parts cleaner, to spray everything off and dry everything up in here. That way I can see if there's any leaks, and also to clean my funnel out before I start filling oil. But I wanted to show you guys two things. I got two different kinds of brake cleaner here. And this CRC brand, there's a green can and a red can. And if you get the red can, it's a good cleaner, but it doesn't dry. It's kind of oily, so I always use this is the flammable stuff, the non-chlorinated. But I have another can here. This is the non-flammable. So this is flammable, this isn't. But it doesn't dry on contact. It stays kind of wet. So I mean, it's good if you want to keep it wet so you can brush something or use a rag. But this stuff here, it dries everything up on contact and gives you a real nice area where you can see if you got a leak, a fuel leak or oil leak or something. So I still got my pan under there. I'm just going to spray everything down. Yeah, you can see how it almost dry on contact. So it cleans, it's a good way just to see if you got any leaks or anything. But this will take lettering and stuff off, so be careful if you got like a decal or something. It'll take the ink off of it. All right, just clean my funnel out. And I usually I'll put a gallon in it and check it from there.
Okay. Yeah, just a second, okay?
I'm actually going to open this one up so that can breathe.
Yes, baby. Can I have black one? Okay.
All right, so we got a gallon of oil in it. We'll go ahead and let that drain down through the top of the engine there and check it and see what we have. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and check this and see where we're at. And we are right at full, so right there at the top. So it's only a gallon, but it's gonna fill once it goes and fills the filter and all that. It might drop down a little bit, but we'll go ahead and put the cap in and we'll go ahead and start it. And that's kind of process in itself, because with that, since we opened up the fuel system, there's going to be air in it. And like I said, this don't have a key where you can just crank and crank and crank it. It cycles so long, and you have to be careful. Like if it doesn't start, you got to turn it off real quick, or it'll throw a fault in here, and you'll have to reset it on your controller. So you might have to cycle it two or three times. I usually put it on the AC mode, and like I said, if it doesn't start, you want to shut it off before it throws that fault, because then you got to come back here, reset, and reset everything. So it can be a hassle. But I'll go ahead and put this cap on, and we'll go ahead and start it and make sure everything's good before we put all the coverings back on. And you want this thing, it vibrates when you start, so anything, little pieces and all that, tools, you want to make sure all those are someplace where they're not going to get vibrated off and lost, because it will kind of shake when it starts up. Spray that well. All right, so I'll go in here and try starting it. All right, so it takes, sometimes you have to cycle it a few times to get it started, which this is probably the most trouble I've had out of it. It's still not starting to go ahead and pull the air through now. But the main thing is on that controller, if it doesn't start or shuts off, you just want to make sure you hit the power, turn it off immediately, or if not, it'll throw a code. Then you have to come down to your panel, wherever it may be. Mine's underneath the bunk here, and you'll have to hit that reset button. But like I said, I just like to get it started before I put the panels on, and check everything, make sure there's nothing leaking. And like I said, I got it on air conditioning right now. I don't see any leaks or anything. Everything's running the way it should be running now after it pulled all the air through, because there's really no good way to bleed these. There's no primer pump on this one. But I'm gonna let it run for a couple minutes, and I'll recheck the oil and put the panels back on the same way we took them off, and that's pretty well it for this job. And like I said, the Evolution model, the one that's newer, is basically the same process, except theirs has a little screen filter in the back where this one has an inline filter. But I'm going to switch that out, and that'll be a different video because that's a little bit more work to get back there and change that out. But I hope that helps y'all out. Pretty simple project. I mean, if you can pretty well work on a lawnmower or change the oil in your personal vehicle, this is probably easier than doing a personal vehicle because it's easier to get it to everything. But like I said, I hope you all like the video. Hope it helps you out. Please like the video if you like us and subscribe, and we'll see y'all next time. So thanks for watching.